So after Simon Clarke came out yesterday, people were wondering how many other Conservative MPs would be willing to go over the top and join Clarke in what is now, I can see, a very, very coordinated and forming block to try and push Rishi out. That is what we are seeing right now. And this, of course, as we said, the group behind this, that seemed to start all this is the Conservative British Alliance. We know Lord Frost, or David Frost, aka the former Brexit negotiator, also heavily linked with this organization. But again, we still do not know who exactly created the Conservative British Alliance, who funds it, and who else could potentially be behind this as well. Currently, all that's a bit of a mystery, but more and more people are slowly coming out. So recently we had a guy called William Dry come out. And this was a guy who used to be a special advisor to Rishi Sunak before he quit dramatically because he was, quote, discontented with how things were being run in Number 10. So make no mistake, even though the vast majority of Tory MPs are unhappy with Rishi Sunak, know full well they are going to lose. They know that they do not want to go through another Conservative leadership election, which would result in yet another complete Tory psychodrama, which ultimately would result in an early general election. And like I've said before, guys, don't threaten us with a good time unless you actually mean it. So there is a very serious attempt by this at the moment by this group to do this. Will they succeed? Probably not. But if anything, as I've said before, this is sort of trying to prepare for life after the general election, saying, "Oh, if only Rishi had listened to Cabba, whatever, the Conservative British Alliance, then we would have won. Then things would have been absolutely hunky-dory and perfect. We'd be on for another 4 years of Conservative rule." But as I said before, we'll get more into this interesting statement. And no doubt in the coming weeks, we will probably see more attempts by the Conservative British Alliance to actually try and oust Rishi Sunak or do something else. But as I've said before, one of the big questions is, who do you replace him with? It's hilarious to think that Simon Clarke thinks that this could be done in a week. Because I'll tell you now, there would certainly be no agreement on who would be shall we say, the number one prime replacement. I know the betting odds are currently at Kimi Badnoch at 3-1. But Kimi Badnoch as prime minister? Wow, you want to replace bad with even worse, or shall we say worse with like really scraping the bottom of the barrel. But anyway, let's have a look at this statement that William Dry put out by Harry Cole from that he put out on his Twitter from the Sun, the political editor. But we'll have a see what Will had to say on this. So before we do go reading that, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button. There is the Pony Club as well down below. And of course, there's the Patreon page as well. And as always, thank you very much to everyone who does help and support the channel. So let's crack on into this. So, hang on. There you go. Although, even though you still can't read it all, but there you go. So, this is what he had to say. This is the full statement from William Dry of the Conservative British Alliance. Until recently, I was the Prime Minister's special advisor, responsible for polling and opinion research in number 10 Downing Street. So if there's one person who probably knows, shall we say, when to jump ship, it was probably William Dry. So the Prime Minister and all his team are good people. They work hard, they are decent, and do what they think is right for the country. I respect them hugely. But I am now going to set off on a course of just absolutely monstrably just decimating the bad points of Rishi Sunak, calling him to leave and saying that they are doing an absolute terrible job, even though I've just stated, oh, they're doing such a wonderful job. They're doing what they think's right for the country, but they're absolutely awful. Anyway, after his I respect them hugely, I resigned before Christmas after sadly becoming more dispirited. Well, it doesn't surprise me. After all, he was in charge of polling. Doesn't surprise me. Everyone in this country can see just how the colossal challenges we face are. Well, then, why aren't you coming up with solutions to these problems? If the Conservative British Alliance was a serious contender, and wanted to say, this is how we sort of save conservatism, where are their ideas? What ideas could they be putting forward to Rishi Sunak saying, here's what you need to do? But they're not. All they are trying to do is to replace Rishi Sunak because they think they might be able to get a better candidate who might be able to narrow the polls and maybe at least be a somewhat effective opposition. The big conservative fear, which you have seen repeated over the past 2 weeks or so, has been consistently, oh, we can't let Labour get such a big majority because then they would have a free hand to do all kinds of things. Really? Like what? Maybe look into all these allegations, reopen the Russia report. Oh, there's so much we could do. There's so much we could do, isn't there? Again, threatening us all with a good time. So, sadly, it became clear to me we weren't providing the bold, decisive action required to overcome these challenges. You cannot dent them without internalizing just how fundamentally broken our political system is. Wait, okay, so hold a second. Our political system is, quote, fundamentally broken. So how do we fix it then? What offers are the Conservative British Alliance going to put forward to, quote, fix our broken political system? Because just a few years ago, it seemed to be perfectly fine. And this was, the pride of the world. Nothing can beat the British parliamentary system as a democratic institution. And now all of a sudden, it's broken. What are you going to do to, quote, fix this broken system? Again, doesn't come. I further concluded, again, sorrowfully, that the Conservatives are heading for the most almightiest of defeats. Well, bear in mind, you were responsible for polling and opinion research. Why did you not inform your boss, who would probably be Rishi Sunak, that, this was likely, this was going to happen? Doesn't seem to be overly loyal to his particular boss now, does he? Being no doubt that we are on course for at least a decade of Labour rule. Again, Will, don't threaten me with such a good time. And if Farage comes back, the Conservative Party essentially won't exist by Christmas. Oh, Will. Oh, I've got the vapors. I've got the vapors, Will. Um, so, yep, won't exist by Christmas. And seeing how the system works and studying more policy areas and Labour's approach, I strongly believe that Labour will not deliver the change the country needs and wants. Quite the opposite. So, we have a government that won't provide the leadership, but will deliver a different government so that it won't deliver the change that we need. You can see why the British people are so depressed with politics. Again, what change does the country need? Like what do you mean when you mean change? What change is the country crying out for? Because it seems to me, again, this isn't a call to action, a call to change the current Conservative Party. If anything, this is trying to, I think, settle internal rivalries and scores within the Conservative Party to try and affect the future leadership contest. And bear in mind, this guy, William Dry, as it was also revealed, um, you know, all the polling that we've seen back at the start of the week that was going to sort of wipe out the Tories, that didn't take into account, the sort of, electoral tactical voting or anything like that, has apparently another um another uh poll that they also did showing how wonderful Kimmy Badenoch would somehow win and somehow would just sweep the floor with Keir Starmer. Again, it's becoming ever more clear who their candidate that they want is is in. But again, would she be able to perform? Absolutely not. I think under the pressure, even other Conservative MPs have said this, under the pressure of being PM, Kimmy Badenoch would not be able to perform. She would perform badly. She would come across very poorly. She has not really proved herself in any ministerial position, even the current ministerial position as business and trade secretary, blaming Biden for not getting the UK USA trade deal and instead signing the pointless papers of memorandums of understanding that do nothing for us. But anyway, let's see what he has to say. So after resigning, I have worked with others to try and alert the Conservative Party to the danger that the country is in. I fully intended to say nothing publicly. Well, I think you blew that. I think you blew that. But after I'd informed Number 10 at noon today that I had been assisting on this work, within hours, I had journalists calling me. Oh, yes. I'm. Yes. At what point did you see this would be a savvy political move, Will? And potentially even a career moving job, Will? It should not need saying that I have and never will not use any of the information that I was privy to in government. I am under no delusions that the Conservative MP decides who leads the Conservative Party. Really? So why all this effort to try and push Conservative MPs into ditching Rishi Sunak then? Gee, yeah, totally not trying to convince or influence Conservative MPs to give Rishi the old heave ho. Anyway, not unelected advisors like me. And it looks like they may not want to change leader. But this is the big decision, and they owe it to the country's future to reflect on. Oh, yeah, totally. Once again, remind you, totally not trying to influence Conservative MPs at all. Those who think we can do much better than this are those who think that we can't do much better than this are dead wrong. Those who think the public don't want much better than this are also dead wrong. Yeah. Again, if they actually came out and put forward, ideas or policy ideas, I can guarantee you there will be incredibly Tory, incredibly white ring, which again if you put to voters, voters might go, yeah, no, we're not really interested in that. The most successful the Conservative Party has ever been is when it is fought from the centre rather than from the right. And that was under, of course, David Cameron. Boris Johnson did that technically as well in his sort of elected victory. Theresa May tried and failed because she didn't read the room during that particular general election. But that has been sort of the political history of the Conservative Party. And the thing is, even though Cameron proved and showed that no, the Conservative Party must be a right centrist party, every single person in the Conservative Party got super annoyed and has been since trying to push the Conservative Party back ever more to the right. And yes, you can also argue that even David Cameron himself was a right centrist in disguise. That is, I will fully accept, that as a valid argument. But what's happened over their course of this ever more push rightwards, the polls have just gone down and down like that because they've been the ones in charge for all this time saying how wonderful, how fantastic we are, how wonderful and economic stewards we are, how good we are on crime and justice and all these things. And everything they keep on saying, they've had a decade to try and prove that they are good on this, but they aren't. And now all the seeds that they planted into the early days of David Cameron and the early days of the coalition with the Lib Dems are now coming home to roost. Austerity, the poor underfunding, their very almost nothing growth plans that provided absolutely nothing long term, leaving the EU proving to be a very bad decision at the moment. Ultimately, one at which the party itself may have to reckon with and may even decide that, yes, Brexit was the completely wrong decision. And that is the Conservative Party that I am talking about. It is not beyond the realms of possibility that that will one day happen. But as always, let me know what you think down below. But trust me, I do not think we've heard, or shall we say, seen the last of the Conservative British alliance. But until then, of course, we'll see you all next time.